Okay, this is going to be our video about elements and principles of design. You should get this handout and glue it in. This is the list of the visual design elements. Our first element is a point. And basically this is exactly the same kind of thing that you learned in geometry this year. A point has position. It tells us where something happens, but it doesn't have any dimensions. And we describe it where it is in space here, and it's just a location. This is exactly the same definition that we have in geometry. For example, here on this guy, we're looking at these points as they do this animation. Okay, lines. Again, this is very much, starts off with a definition, very much like what you see in geometry. It has only a length, and it can be used to define the boundaries, like boundaries here, volume, and so on. You're going to want to take these notes in your notebook. There's different kind of lines. Vertical, horizontal, diagonal, and curvy. And each one kind of gives a different feel when you look at that kind of item. For example, vertical lines show dignity and formality. If you look at these buildings with these vertical lines, they look very formal. Versus these that have more prominent horizontal lines give you more of a sense of calm and peace. Diagonal lines here, and the ones here, movement, action, and curved lines. They give a sense of freedom, of more modern looks to things in these. So what your instructions say on your instruction sheet, which you should have gotten glued in, is first of all it says record a brief description of each one. So you may need to go back to those video slides that I just showed you and record the description of each one. Then you're going to take and prepare this visual that it describes here. You're going to make a chart using at least 3 different tools out of this list, and you're going to show different types of lines on each one. Here's some examples of some ways you could do it. A chart like this, a chart like this. This one is not so much a chart, but you could also do it like this. This is your chance to be creative. So pause the video, go back, take the notes, and draw the examples. Our next one is form. This is a 3D volume. Even though this screen is flat, we can see that these are 3D items because of the shading on them and the shadows behind them. And when we look at different items, the form of it gives us different shapes, the pyramids, the spheres, the cylinders. Again, you want to pause the video. This is what your instructions you glued in say, and it tells you to do sketches of balls, vases, etc. You'll probably need to go back. You also want to write the description out, the definitions we had on the previous slide. So you'll want to pause and rewind. And here's some examples. Different forms, different forms. This one shows form here versus a shape, which is 2D, which is our next one. Okay, shapes. Here we're talking about just 2D shapes. These are flat geometric items. There's geometric, mechanical, and organic. You'll want to write these definitions down. And they make a difference when we start designing things. Look in here and look for the different geometric shapes you can find. And here's what your instructions say. You're going to make a collage. That means you're going to cut out shapes out of paper. And I have a stack of colored paper for you to cut from. You should include all sorts of different shapes. These shapes, plus organic ones that don't have a specific shape to them. Here's some different examples. This one was actually drawn because the directions were different at this point, but here's like your collage is going to be cut out of paper. Remember, you want to have all 3 kinds, and it'd be a good idea to have the definitions written down in your notebook. Remember, this is the notes that you're going to use later on when you do a quiz over this. So what I want you to do is, again, pause, take some time, go get this part done. You may need to go back to the previous slides to watch and copy down those notes.